Collected Tales of a Dublin Doctor. This podcast is a series of tales written by my father, Patrick Beaufin, and rediscovered in a file at the back of a press 30 years after his passing. The Disney booking. One of the temporary part-time jobs that I, as a student, had in the late 40s was general boy at the Gate Theatre. It was a very lowly position. It didn't even rank one of the theatre euphemisms, such as deputy assistant stage manager. My duties were varied. I made tea, ran errands, and during the afternoon, I sat in the tiny booking office to take any reservations made by telephone. At that time, the gate was shabby in a genteel way. Who can forget the three ladies who formed the trio that played in an alcove near the stage before curtain up? Money for maintenance was scarce. The wall by the stairs up to the auditorium was lined with photographs of the members of the company. It was my ambition, never realised, to have mine there too. Two companies shared the gate at that time, the MacLeamore Edwards Company and Longford Productions. The latter got its name from its impresario, Lord Longford, elder brother of the present Earl. He was grossly fat, double chins overflowing his collar, and a huge paunch. He was also a man with a brilliant, sensitive mind, allied to a profound knowledge of the theatre. Unfettered by any restrictions by a board of governors, he and his wife Christine, a tiny, bird-like woman, had total artistic freedom. This was reflected in the variety of plays produced. An Oscar Wilde could be followed by a Chekhov, Fry, or Molière. The company had just completed a run of Thornton Wilder's Our Town, a play about a small American town, performed in modern dress with no scenery. It was replaced by Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, which received very flattering notices from the critics. Seamus Kelly, theatre critic of the Irish Times, praised all the players, but described Maurice O'Brien's final exit as Malvolio, as delicate as the tinkle of a shattered champagne glass. We were looking forward to a good run. I was sitting in the booking office one afternoon with Longford standing outside, pudgy fingers clasped over his paunch, when the phone rang. A booming American voice announced, "This is Walt Disney calling from the Gresham Hotel. Is that the Gate Theatre?" I assured him that it was. I wrote on the pad beside the phone, Walt Disney, for Longford's attention. He glanced at it and smiled. Meanwhile, the conversation continued. "I'm calling you from the Gresham Hotel. Can I reserve 24 seats for tonight's performance?" After a pause, so as not to show too great eagerness, I told him that that would be possible. Meanwhile, I scribbled 24 on the pad. Longford smiled benignly. The American voice boomed on. He told me of his lifelong friendship with Thornton Wilder, how they had shared a love of what he called the experimental theatre, the escapades they had shared together. He told me what a lovely man dear old Thornton was. For this reason, he wanted to bring his party to see Our Town. When I succeeded in getting a word in, I said, "But Mr. Disney, Our Town closed last Saturday. We're no longer playing it." He asked what was on now, and I told him Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. There was a long silence on the phone. Eventually he spoke again, rather haltingly explaining to me that it was the play of his great friend that he had wanted his friends to see. He finished, "Maybe you'd better cancel those seats." He hung up. I drew a line through what I had written on the pad. It was a serious matter in that post-war period to lose a booking for 24 seats. In some dread, I turned to Longford and told him the full conversation. After a moment, he smiled, and in that high-pitched, querulous voice he said, "It doesn't matter. Even he would not have the temerity to claim a lifelong friendship with Shakespeare."